Most people live with a quiet, almost invisible hope that someday luck will knock on their door and change everything. They picture a moment when the stars align, when opportunity arrives neatly packaged, when someone notices their hidden talent, or when circumstances suddenly shift in their favor. This hope, while comforting, is one of the greatest illusions that keeps millions from ever making money, building wealth, or designing the life they dream about. Luck is often treated like a supernatural force, as though it has agency, as though it is wandering the world searching for someone to bless. People speak of it like it's a person. I hope luck finds me. I wasn't lucky today. With a little luck, things will turn around. But the brutal truth is that luck does not search for anyone. Luck does not move across the chessboard of your life. It is not a visitor waiting to appear. What people call luck is almost always the intersection of preparation and opportunity, and both of those are under your control. Think about it. You might see someone who suddenly becomes successful and the world whispers, he was lucky. But if you look closer, you'll see the long trail of work, sleepless nights, trial and error, learning and risk-taking that positioned them to seize that moment. It wasn't luck. It was invisible labor finally colliding with the right opportunity. Waiting for luck is waiting for a train that never arrives, because the truth is you are the conductor. The illusion of luck is powerful because it gives us an excuse. It lets us sit still without feeling guilty. When luck comes, then I'll act. When luck smiles on me, then I'll start. It soothes the ego and postpones responsibility. If you believe money will arrive when luck decides to visit, then you don't have to take ownership tonight, this hour, right now. But here's the problem. While you're waiting for luck, someone else is creating it. While you sit in hesitation, another person is building skills, reaching out to people, learning new methods of earning, launching small ventures, and stacking the bricks of a financial foundation. That's why they look lucky. The truth is, they didn't wait for luck. They built the conditions where luck became inevitable. Money-making is not a game of waiting. It is a game of creating. Every dollar that exists in your future is already hiding behind a decision you've been postponing. It is waiting in that skill you haven't practiced, that service you haven't offered, that message you haven't sent, that product you haven't designed. People often believe money is somewhere far away, guarded by gates of privilege or luck. But in reality, it is closer than they think, usually just one uncomfortable action away. Here's the danger of waiting for luck. The longer you wait, the more you train yourself to delay action. The more you delay action, the weaker your ability to act becomes. It is like a muscle. Inaction atrophies your courage, your discipline, your momentum. You become a professional waiter, not in the restaurant sense, but in the tragic sense of waiting for life to start. And years later, the greatest regret people whisper is not that they failed, but that they never began. Luck, in truth, disguises itself as risk. The reason some people seem lucky is because they took risks others refused to take. They made the phone call that could have led to rejection. They tried the side hustle that could have failed. They posted their work online when others feared embarrassment. They invested in themselves when it was easier to spend on entertainment. To outsiders, this looks like luck. But if you zoom in, it's simply the fruit of consistent, courageous, imperfect actions repeated daily. Think about history's great innovators, entrepreneurs, and creators. Was it luck that Edison discovered the filament that made the light bulb, or was it the 10,000 failed experiments he endured? Was it luck that Oprah became one of the most influential women in media, or was it the relentless effort, the rejection, the persistence, the self-belief she maintained when luck was nowhere to be seen? Was it luck that Elon Musk built multiple billion-dollar companies, or was it the calculated risks, sleepless work, near bankruptcy moments, and relentless experimentation? When you peel away the myth, you realize that luck is a lazy label society slaps on someone's visible success without acknowledging their invisible sweat. Waiting for luck is like waiting for rain in the desert. You can wait a lifetime, but the desert will still be dry. Instead, you must dig a well. You must create the source. And once you start digging, something incredible happens. The world begins to respond. The people you need notice you. The opportunities that were hidden become visible. The connections you require seem to appear. What changed? Not luck. You did. You shifted from passive dreaming to active creating. This is why you cannot afford to wait another night, another week, another month. Tonight matters. Tonight is not small. It is not just another 24 hours to waste scrolling, consuming, or planning for Sunday. Tonight can be the pivot point. It can be the evening where you make the uncomfortable choice that bends the trajectory of your life. It can be the night you stop waiting and start moving. Because the truth is, money flows to motion. Not to luck, not to hesitation, not to those who wait, but to those who create motion in their life. And motion starts now, not when you feel ready, not when the stars align, not when you get lucky. The longer you feed the illusion of luck, the further money slips from your grasp. The moment you cut the cord and admit that luck is not coming, you are free to act, free to create, free to build. That's the power of destroying the illusion of luck. There comes a moment in every life where the weight of waiting becomes unbearable. You've whispered promises to yourself too many times. Tomorrow I'll start, next week I'll try. Next month will be different. Those whispers pile up like stones until they form a mountain of delay, and from the top of that mountain you look down and wonder why nothing is changed. The truth is not hidden, it has been in front of you all along. Change never begins in tomorrow. It only ever begins in tonight. Hope is beautiful, but hope without action is a prison. You can spend your whole life hoping for more money, more opportunity, more freedom, but if hope is all you have, you will grow old in chains. Hoping alone will not pay the bills. Hoping alone will not grow your skills. Hoping alone will not open the door to the life you secretly dream of when the world is asleep. That is why you must learn to shift from hoping to acting, from dreaming to doing, from waiting to moving. And the shift does not require a miracle. It requires a single small decision made tonight. You may believe that making money, building wealth, changing your financial destiny requires a giant leap, a revolutionary step so massive it feels impossible. But greatness rarely begins with a giant leap. It begins with a small, almost invisible decision that gains strength with repetition. One tiny action tonight can be the first stone that starts the avalanche of transformation. Think about the power of momentum. A train sitting still requires enormous force to move, but once it starts rolling, even the smallest push carries it forward. Life works the same way. You may feel stuck, paralyzed by indecision, waiting for the perfect moment to act, but the perfect moment is not coming. The only moment you have is the one in your hands right now. And if you take even the smallest step tonight, you break the paralysis. You transform hope into movement. The human brain thrives on proof. It does not believe words, it believes evidence. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that you will change, that you will start, that you will take action, but your mind will not believe you until it sees the action. That is why tonight matters. When you choose to act, when you make even the smallest step toward generating income, your brain collects the evidence. I can do this. I have begun. I am moving. That single proof point unlocks the momentum that dreaming alone never could. Consider this. Every successful entrepreneur, every wealthy individual, every person who transformed their financial reality began with a decision that felt small. It could have been sending a message, learning a new skill online, listing a product, offering a service, creating a page, writing a proposal. At the time, it looked insignificant. But looking back, it was the seed of a forest. The reason so many never start is that they underestimate the power of a seed. Imagine a person who decides tonight to create a simple online profile offering freelance services. The profile itself takes an hour. At first, it seems tiny, almost laughable compared to the dream of financial freedom. But that single action becomes a door. Days later, the first small project arrives. Weeks later, confidence builds. Months later, multiple clients appear. Years later, this small act blossoms into a business that funds their life. What looked like a small, almost forgettable decision tonight becomes the foundation of a future they once thought required luck. The shift from hope to action does not require genius. It does not require luck. It requires honesty. Honesty with yourself about how much time you've wasted waiting. Honesty about how many times you've promised and postponed. And once you admit this, the next step is courage. The courage to make a move so small it feels almost embarrassing. The courage to say, I will not let this night end without planting one seed. And let's speak plainly, action feels terrifying because it invites failure. Hoping is safe. Dreaming is comfortable. In your imagination, you never fail. But in reality, the first action might not bring success. The first attempt might flop. The first effort might feel wasted. That is why so many cling to hoping. It allows them to keep the dream alive without the risk of watching it fail. But this safety is an illusion. By avoiding failure, you guarantee something worse. You guarantee nothing changes. Failure is not the enemy. Stagnation is. The person who fails tonight and learns will always be 10 steps ahead of the person who waits another year for luck, because failure sharpens, teaches, strengthens, while waiting dulls the blade of your spirit. What can you do tonight? That is the only question that matters. Not what you will do in a year, not what you will do when you finally feel ready, but what you will do in the next hour that pushes your life 1 inch forward. Maybe it's sending an email to a potential client. Maybe it's researching 3 simple online businesses you could start. Maybe it's creating a draft product or recording your first piece of content or applying for a job you've avoided. The action does not need to be perfect. It needs to exist. There is a law of life you cannot escape. Action creates clarity. You cannot think your way into a money-making plan that works. You must act your way into discovering it. Thinking gives you theories. Acting gives you feedback, and feedback is the most valuable currency in the world because it shows you where to adjust, where to persist, where to pivot. Hoping produces nothing but recycled thoughts. Acting produces data, results, growth. The wealth you seek is not hidden in luck, it is hidden in action. And the beauty of action is that it is always available to you. You do not need permission, you do not need luck, you do not need the perfect timing, you need the courage to move. And once you do, the world around you begins to rearrange. People notice, opportunities open, doors you thought were locked swing slightly ajar. Not because luck arrived, but because you created momentum. The hardest step is always the first. But once you take it, something inside you shifts forever. The person who acts tonight is no longer the person who waited yesterday. They are reborn into someone with proof, someone with courage, someone with momentum. And once you have momentum, you will discover the greatest secret. You no longer care about luck. You realize that your destiny is not written in chance, but in the choices you make when the world is quiet and no one is watching. So ask yourself, what will you do tonight? Before you ever hold money in your hand, you must first hold a new mind in your head. This is the law no one tells you. The invisible foundation of wealth is not dollars, it is not possessions, it is not investments. It is mindset. You can hand a person a fortune, but if their mindset is poor, the fortune will vanish. You can strip another person of everything, but if their mindset is strong, they will build it all again. That is why before you ever focus on skills, before you chase tactics and strategies, you must first construct the mental framework that makes money inevitable. Think of the mind as the soil and skills as the seeds. If the soil is poisoned, no seed will survive. If the soil is fertile, even the smallest seed will grow. Too many people obsess over skills while ignoring the soil of their mindset. They learn tricks, techniques, and systems, but because they never fixed the way they think about money, they sabotage themselves before success can arrive. They believe money is scarce, so they hoard. They believe money is evil, so they repel it. They believe money is only for the lucky, so they never create it. All of this happens before they even take their first action. To build a money-making mindset, you must first confront the lies you have been told about wealth. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that money is not for you, that it belongs to others, that it is greedy to want more. Perhaps you grew up hearing arguments about bills, watching people fight over lack, absorbing the silent belief that money was a source of pain. Or perhaps you were told to be realistic, that dreams of financial freedom were childish, that the best you could hope for was survival. These beliefs take root like weeds, and no matter how many skills you try to plant, they choke the growth. The first step in building your mindset is to expose these lies to the light. Money is not evil. It is neutral. It amplifies the character of the one who holds it. In the hands of the selfish, it becomes a weapon. In the hands of the generous, it becomes a tool for healing. In the hands of the fearful, it becomes a prison. In the hands of the wise, it becomes freedom. To fear money is to misunderstand it. To resent it is to repel it. You must learn to respect it, to see it as a servant, not a master. The second step is to shift from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity whispers that there is not enough, that every dollar you earn is stolen from someone else, that the world is a pie, and if someone has more, you must have less. This mindset creates jealousy, competition, and paralysis. But abundance reveals the truth. Wealth is created, not taken. The pie can grow endlessly. Opportunities are not finite. They multiply in the presence of creativity. Scarcity makes you cling. Abundance makes you create. Scarcity locks your hands. Abundance frees them. And until you embrace abundance, no skill you learn will take root, because fear will choke it before it blooms. The third step is to adopt responsibility. Too many blame the economy, their upbringing, their circumstances, their lack of connections, their lack of luck. And while these forces are real, they are not final. Responsibility does not mean ignoring hardship. It means refusing to let hardship write your ending. The mindset of responsibility says, I may not control where I began, but I will control where I go. I may not control the winds, but I will set the sails. Without this, even the best skills rust. With this, even small skills become powerful. Once these foundations are laid, the money-making mindset begins to reveal its true power. It changes the way you see everything. Where others see problems, you see possibilities. Where others see dead ends, you see hidden doors. Where others see failure, you see feedback. This shift is not cosmetic, it is transformational. A person with a money-making mindset cannot stay broke for long because their mind will not allow them to ignore opportunities. It hunts for them, creates them, multiplies them. Skills matter. But the person with skills and no mindset is like a sailor with a ship but no compass. They drift, they crash, they waste their strength. The person with mindset and growing skills is like a captain with a clear direction. Their journey is not without storms, but the destination is inevitable. Think about the difference between two people learning the same skill, say digital marketing. One sees it as a gamble, something that might make them money if they get lucky. They dabble, they hesitate, they quit at the first obstacle. Another sees it through the lens of a money-making mindset. They view it as a tool, not a gamble. They persist when it gets difficult. They see obstacles as tuition, setbacks as lessons. Within a year, the first person has nothing to show, while the second has built a thriving business. The skill was the same. The mindset was the difference. This is why you must focus tonight, not on gathering every possible skill, but on sharpening the one tool that multiplies all skills, your mind. Begin by rewriting your relationship with money. Stop speaking as if it is your enemy. Stop saying, I can't afford it, and start asking, how can I afford it? The first statement shuts doors. The second opens them. Stop saying, I'm not lucky enough, and start saying, I will create the conditions. Stop saying, maybe someday, and start saying, I will make today the start. A money-making mindset is not positive thinking. It is disciplined thinking. Positive thinking hopes everything will work out. Disciplined thinking says, I will work until it does. Positive thinking dreams. Disciplined thinking acts. Positive thinking wishes. Disciplined thinking plans. To build wealth, you must train your mind like an athlete trains their body, daily, deliberately, relentlessly. Guard what you feed your mind. If you consume fear, doubt, and negativity, your mindset will collapse. If you surround yourself with people who mock ambition, you will shrink. If you spend your nights escaping reality through entertainment, you will weaken your mental grip on possibility. But if you feed your mind with stories of resilience, with strategies of wealth, with people who challenge you to rise, your mindset will grow unshakable. And with that, every skill you learn will find fertile ground. This is the secret. Money is not first earned in the bank. It is first earned in the mind. Every dollar begins as a thought, a decision, a belief that you can create it. And if you do not first win the battle in your head, you will lose the battle in your life. But once you win the inner game, the outer game becomes easier, even natural. You stop waiting for luck. You stop fearing failure. You stop doubting yourself. You move, you create, you earn. The greatest fortune you can build begins not with coins or credit, but with convictions. Once those convictions are strong, once your mind is aligned with creation instead of waiting, with responsibility instead of blame, with abundance instead of scarcity, then every skill you learn becomes a weapon. And with those weapons, you carve your freedom. Every dream of financial freedom eventually collides with a simple question: what do I do tonight? Not tomorrow, not next month, not when you feel ready, tonight. Because the gap between wishing and wealth is not measured in years, but in the courage to take the first practical steps. This chapter is not about theory. It is about action you can take before you sleep, action that plants the seeds of income, action that transforms talk into movement. The truth is, making money is not reserved for the chosen few. It is not locked behind gates of privilege. It is built by ordinary people who dared to act in extraordinary ways. And those extraordinary ways often begin with something so small it seems almost trivial. But never underestimate the power of small beginnings. Tonight is where momentum is born. So let us strip away excuses and focus on what is within your reach right now. Not in the abstract future, but in the hours you hold in your hands tonight. The first step is to take inventory. Look at your skills, your time, your resources. Do not dismiss what you know because it feels common. What seems ordinary to you may be valuable to someone else. Can you write, speak, teach, organize, repair, design, advise, or entertain? Somewhere out there, someone is willing to pay for exactly that. But you will never know until you make it visible. Tonight, you can create a profile on a freelancing platform. It takes less than an hour to set up, but that hour can change your life. List the skills you have, even if they feel small: data entry, translation, graphic design, tutoring, writing, editing, marketing, customer service, coding. Do not wait until you feel like an expert. Begin as you are and let the market refine you. Too many people wait until they feel perfect, but perfection never arrives. Progress belongs to those who begin imperfectly. Or perhaps freelancing is not your path. Tonight you could list unused items in your house for sale online. That forgotten laptop, that old phone, that piece of furniture, those clothes you no longer wear. Each of these is money trapped in objects. Free it. Post them tonight. The very act of listing will shift your mindset. You will realize money is not distant. It is already in your environment, waiting for you to claim it. If selling possessions is not enough, consider the digital world you live in. Tonight, you can create your first piece of content: a short video, a blog post, an online tutorial. Do not dismiss this step because it feels small. Every empire of influence began with a single piece of content that no one watched. What matters is not the immediate result, but the act of planting the flag of your presence. Content is the modern form of leverage. While you sleep, it works for you, reaching people, building trust, opening doors to opportunities. You may say, but I don't know what to create. That is not the problem. The problem is believing you must know everything before you begin. Start with what you know. Share your story. Teach one lesson you have learned. Document your journey instead of pretending you have arrived. Authenticity is currency. People are drawn not to perfection, but to progress. Tonight, you can begin building that progress publicly. Another step you can take tonight is learning. Not passive learning that ends with watching another video, but active learning that produces an action. For example, choose a simple income-generating skill: copywriting, digital marketing, coding, sales, video editing. Spend an hour tonight studying it, then immediately apply it. Write one ad, edit one clip, build one small web page. The act of applying what you learn locks it into your brain and begins the process of skill monetization. Perhaps the most overlooked step you can take tonight is outreach. Send a message to someone who could benefit from your help. Offer your service, even if it's for free at first, to build proof and confidence. The fear of rejection is strong, but behind rejection is connection, and behind connection is opportunity. Every successful entrepreneur can trace their journey back to one conversation, one message, one email that shifted everything. That email could be written tonight. The key is not size. It is immediacy. The steps you take tonight may seem small compared to the mountain of your dreams, but mountains are climbed step by step, not in one leap. And every step taken tonight shortens the distance. Now let us confront the excuses. You may say, I don't have the time, but tonight you have hours you normally spend scrolling, watching, consuming. Trade 1 hour of distraction for 1 hour of creation and watch how your life begins to shift. You may say, I don't have the resources, but the most powerful resource is your mind, your creativity, your willingness to act. The internet is filled with free tools, free platforms, free courses. What you lack is not resources, but resolve. You may say, I don't know where to start. The answer is simple, start anywhere. Action itself will reveal the next step. The beauty of starting tonight is that it sends a signal to your mind, to your spirit, to the universe itself that you are serious. Until now, your words may have been promises without proof. But when you act tonight, even in the smallest way, you prove to yourself that you are done waiting. That proof ignites confidence. Confidence fuels more action. Action creates momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. And soon what began as a small step tonight grows into a path that others call success. Think of the countless people who wish they had started sooner. They look back and say, if only I had begun last year, last month, last week. Do not let your future self look back on tonight with regret. Do not let tomorrow's version of you say, I had the chance, but I wasted it. Tonight is not disposable. It is precious. It is the first night of your new life. If you decide to act, the practical steps are not glamorous. They do not feel like destiny, but destiny is shaped in the unglamorous, in the quiet decisions when no one is watching, in the small steps no one celebrates, in the unseen hours where you choose creation over consumption. This is where fortunes are born. This is where freedom is forged. So as the night deepens, ask yourself, what can I do right now before the clock strikes midnight to bring myself closer to income? Write it down. Do it. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for clarity. Do not wait for luck. Move. And once you move, the path will unfold beneath your feet. Tonight you can choose to remain as you are, or tonight you can choose to begin. And though the step may be small, the decision is monumental, because the night you begin is the night you stop waiting, the night you stop hoping, the night you stop pretending. It is the night you become a creator, a builder, a mover, and that night can be tonight. The difference between those who start and those who succeed is not luck, not genius, not even timing. It is consistency. Starting is powerful, but starting without continuing is like striking a match in the dark and watching it burn out before it lights the room. What transforms small beginnings into unstoppable force is the daily decision to keep going. Fortune is not the reward of a single action. It is the compound interest of repeated action. Momentum is the hidden engine of wealth. It is the invisible current that carries you forward once you have paid the price of beginning. At first, it feels hard, unnatural, even painful. You are breaking old habits, confronting fear, stepping into uncertainty. The results are slow, sometimes invisible. This is where most people quit. They take the first step, and when the world does not instantly reward them, they retreat. They say, it didn't work, I tried. But they did not try. They tested, and testing is not enough. Momentum is born not in the first attempt, but in the persistence that follows. Consistency is not glamorous. It is the quiet repetition of simple actions long after the excitement has faded. It is posting content when no one is watching. It is reaching out to clients when most say no. It is practicing your craft when no one claps. It is refining your skills when the money is not yet flowing. It is showing up again and again and again until showing up becomes who you are. Think of a flywheel, an enormous, heavy wheel that takes incredible force to push. At first, your effort seems wasted. The wheel barely moves. You strain, you sweat, you wonder if it will ever turn. But then, slowly, it begins to shift. Each push makes it easier. Each repetition adds speed. Until one day, the flywheel is spinning with a power of its own, momentum carrying it forward with little effort from you. That is what consistency does to your life. At first, it feels impossible, but if you do not quit, momentum will take over, and the very thing that once felt heavy will carry you. This is why fortune follows those who persist. Not because they are luckier, but because consistency compounds. A single act tonight may not make you rich, But repeated over weeks, months, years, that act becomes a system. And systems, not luck, create wealth. Imagine two people beginning a side business. The first posts once, sends a few messages, tries for a week, then quits when results are slow. The second does the same thing, but continues. They post again, they reach out again, they improve with each attempt. After 3 months, the first person has nothing but frustration. The second has built momentum. After a year, the first has given up completely. The second has built a steady income stream. The difference was not intelligence, it was consistency. Consistency also builds credibility. In a world filled with noise, people trust what they see repeatedly. If you show up once, you are forgotten. If you show up again and again, people begin to notice. They may not respond immediately, but over time, trust forms. And trust is the foundation of income. People do not buy from the most talented, they buy from the most consistent. But consistency does more than build trust with others. It transforms your identity. Each time you act, you prove something to yourself. Each time you keep a promise, you strengthen your self-respect. And with each repetition, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop saying, "I want to be," and start saying, "I am." You stop doubting your ability and start proving it daily. The greatest wealth you gain from consistency is not money, it is the unshakable belief in your own power. The danger is that most people quit too soon. They expect fireworks after the first spark. They expect applause after the first step. They expect riches after the first sale. And when these do not appear, they assume the dream is dead. But nothing could be further from the truth. The seed does not sprout overnight. The harvest does not come after the first day of planting. Fortune is patient. It tests you. It waits to see if you are serious, and only when you prove your seriousness through consistency does it reveal itself. The road to fortune is not paved in giant leaps, but in steady steps. A single brick laid each night becomes a wall. A wall becomes a house becomes a fortress, and a fortress becomes an empire. But it all begins with the discipline to lay the brick daily, even when it feels pointless, even when no one is watching, even when results are not visible. Consistency also has a hidden reward. It multiplies your opportunities. When you show up consistently, you are present when chance arrives. Luck, as people call it, is nothing more than being prepared and present when opportunity appears, and consistency guarantees you will be present. While others quit and miss their moment, you are still there, moving, building, visible, ready. The challenge of consistency is not difficulty, it is boredom. Excitement carries you at the beginning, but only discipline carries you through the middle. There will be nights when you feel tired, when you doubt, when progress is invisible. These are the nights that define your future. If you stop, you reset the flywheel back to zero. If you continue, you store energy that will one day explode into results. To master consistency, create rituals, not resolutions. Resolutions fade when motivation dies. Rituals remain because they are built into your life. Choose simple actions you can repeat daily. Writing 1 page, sending 3 messages, learning for 1 hour, posting 1 piece of content. These actions are small enough to sustain, but powerful enough to compound. Over time, they will create a body of work, a network of connections, a skill set so strong it becomes unshakable. And when consistency meets time, the results are exponential. At first, progress is slow, painfully slow. But then something shifts. The results begin to stack faster. The opportunities multiply. The income grows in waves. Others call this luck, but you will know the truth. It is momentum. It is the reward of refusing to quit when quitting was easy. This is how action becomes fortune. Not through a single brilliant move, but through ordinary moves repeated until they become extraordinary. The person who acts once is a dreamer. The person who acts daily is a builder. And the person who builds daily cannot help but create fortune, because fortune is the shadow of momentum. So ask yourself tonight, not if you can act once, but if you can act again. Not if you can begin, but if you can continue, because anyone can start. Few can persist. But those few, the ones who persist when others stop, are the ones who rise. They are the ones who prove that fortune is not found. It is forged, and consistency is the forge. The night is quiet when the world tempts you to rest, to let your dreams wait until tomorrow. But tomorrow is the thief of momentum. Tomorrow whispers promises it never intends to keep. The truth is, what you choose tonight determines whether your future moves closer or drifts away. And if you listen carefully, you will hear the call to rise again, not with noise and spectacle, but with quiet determination. We have already spoken of consistency and how momentum is born. But now we must step into the deeper challenge, sustaining vision when the path grows long. Because once you have begun, once you have built some rhythm, a new battle emerges, the battle of endurance. At the beginning, your fire burns bright. You are fueled by desire, by excitement, by the possibility of transformation. But fire consumes itself quickly if not fed. The energy of beginnings can carry you through the first weeks, perhaps the first months. But what happens when progress slows? What happens when the work feels endless, when the results do not match the effort, when no one notices what you are building? This is the valley of persistence, and it is where most dreams die. The mountain of success is not conquered at the peak. It is won in the valley, where no one is watching, where the nights are long and the voice of doubt is loud. This is where you learn that discipline is greater than motivation. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the wood that keeps the fire burning. Without discipline, you will stop when the spark fades. With discipline, you continue even when the flame is weak, and eventually the fire grows strong again. Think of an athlete training before dawn, unseen, uncelebrated. Their victories in the arena are decided in those unseen mornings, not in the spotlight. The world sees the trophy, but the trophy was earned in silence, in sweat, in the persistence of routine. The same is true for wealth. People will one day see the outcome of your persistence and call you lucky, but luck had nothing to do with it. What they missed were the long nights, the repeated effort, the quiet refusal to quit. The valley tests not only your discipline, but your vision. In the silence, you must hold on to a picture of the future so strong it carries you through the present. When you cannot see results, you must imagine them. When you cannot feel progress, you must believe in it. And when no one else believes in you, you must become your own believer. This is why clarity matters. A vague dream cannot carry you through hardship. You must see it, feel it, know it in detail. Not simply, I want to make money, but I will build this business, serve these people, create this impact. Not simply, I want freedom, but I will buy back my time, design my days, and live without chains. The clearer your vision, the stronger your endurance, because you are not walking aimlessly. You are walking toward a promised land. But let us not mistake endurance for perfection. You will stumble. You will fall. You will have days when you fail to act, when doubt wins, when fear steals your energy. That does not mean the dream is dead. Endurance is not never falling. It is always rising. Consistency is not about flawless execution. It is about relentless return. You are not disqualified by failure. You are disqualified only by surrender. The secret many never learn is that failure itself is fuel for endurance. Each setback teaches you something, strengthens you in ways success never could. Success is sweet but soft. Failure is bitter but strengthening. Those who embrace both grow unshakable, and it is the unshakable who endure long enough to reap the rewards. Now let us speak of patience, for patience is the twin of endurance. Endurance is persistence through pain. Patience is trust in timing. Together, they create resilience. You may do the right work for months before the right doors open. You may plant the right seeds for seasons before the harvest arrives. Impatience will make you quit before the fruit appears. But patience whispers, keep watering, keep tending, keep believing. The harvest is on its way. Patience is not passive. It is active trust. It is continuing the work without demanding immediate reward. It is refusing to dig up the seed every morning to see if it has grown. It is trusting the process long enough to allow results to mature. And in this, patience becomes power. For while others scatter their energy chasing quick rewards, you invest your energy in building something lasting. Endurance and patience also sharpen your character. Wealth is not simply about money. It is about who you become in the pursuit of it. If riches were given instantly, they would destroy you, because your character would not be strong enough to carry them. But through endurance, you develop humility, persistence, wisdom. Through patience, you develop faith, perspective, gratitude, and together these qualities make you ready not only to receive wealth, but to sustain it. Ask yourself tonight, are you willing to be forged by endurance? Are you willing to be tested by patience? Because if you are, no setback can defeat you. Each delay will only prepare you. Each hardship will only strengthen you. And when the reward comes, it will not be by accident. It will be because you endured when others abandoned the path. Think of a river cutting through rock. It does not do so by force, but by persistence. Drop by drop, moment by moment, the water wears away what seems unmovable. In time, the rock yields, not because the river is stronger, but because it is consistent and patient. Your actions tonight are like that river. They may feel small, but repeated with endurance, they will carve through mountains. The night is still long, and your journey is far from finished. But remember this, the valley is not the end. It is the middle. And if you keep walking, the mountain will rise before you again. Do not stop in the valley. Do not pitch your tent in defeat. Keep moving, step by step, act by act, night by night, because the summit belongs to those who refuse to stop in the shadows. And when you reach it, when you stand on the heights and look back at the long valley you crossed, you will understand something profound. The valley was the gift, for it was there in the silence and struggle that you became strong enough to rise. Endurance is wealth, patience is fortune, and those who carry both in their hearts cannot be denied. Discipline is the bridge between vision and reality. You may dream, you may desire, you may even begin, but without discipline, your effort will crumble beneath the weight of distraction. Consistency gives you rhythm, endurance gives you strength, patience gives you trust. But discipline gives you mastery. It is the ability to command yourself when no one else is watching, to obey your higher purpose rather than your fleeting moods. Every person who has achieved greatness has wrestled with the same enemy, impulse. The impulse to rest when it is time to work. The impulse to spend when it is time to save. The impulse to quit when it is time to persist. The world does not defeat most people, impulse does. They become prisoners of their moods, slaves to comfort, captives of distraction. And yet every person also carries the power to master impulse, to rise above it with discipline. Discipline is freedom disguised as sacrifice. At first it feels like chains. You deny yourself comfort. You rise earlier than your body wishes. You choose work over pleasure. You choose restraint over indulgence. But slowly, something changes. What once felt like chains becomes wings. Your mornings expand. Your productivity compounds. Your focus sharpens. The very sacrifices that seem to limit you become the forces that lift you. Think of a soldier in training. At the beginning, every command feels heavy. Every exercise feels unbearable. But with repetition, the body grows stronger, the mind sharper, the will unbreakable. The training that seemed cruel becomes the foundation of survival. The same is true in the battle for wealth. Discipline is your training ground. Without it, opportunity will pass you by because you were too distracted, too unprepared, too undisciplined to seize it. Let us speak plainly. The world is filled with distractions designed to steal your focus. Entertainment that numbs you, comforts that dull you, habits that waste you. Every hour you surrender to distraction is an hour stolen from your future. Discipline is the guard at the gate. It says, not tonight. Tonight I build. Tonight I rise. Tonight I trade fleeting pleasure for lasting reward. But discipline is not about punishment. It is about alignment. It is about aligning your daily actions with your ultimate vision. It is not saying no for the sake of denial. It is saying no to what weakens you so you can say yes to what strengthens you. Each discipline choice is not a loss. It is an investment. You are not depriving yourself. You are paying yourself. You are trading momentary comfort for lasting freedom. Consider the musician who practices scales instead of sleeping in. The writer who finishes a page instead of watching another show. The entrepreneur who makes 10 calls instead of scrolling endlessly. Each act of discipline feels small, even invisible. But over time, those acts stack into mastery, into reputation, into fortune. Talent without discipline decays. Vision without discipline fades. But discipline, even without talent, creates results because discipline compounds. And discipline is contagious. When you master yourself, others notice. Your confidence grows, your posture shifts, your words carry weight. People trust those who are consistent and self-controlled because discipline signals reliability, and reliability is rare. In a world filled with promises broken and commitments abandoned, the disciplines stand out. They become leaders, not because they seek leadership, but because others are drawn to their steadiness. Yet we must not pretend discipline is easy. It is not. The battle is daily. The enemy is subtle. Comfort whispers louder than purpose. Distraction sparkles brighter than progress. And fatigue makes surrender look reasonable. You will fail at discipline many times, but failure is not the end. Each lapse is a reminder that discipline is not perfection, it is persistence. Discipline is not never breaking, it is always returning to the path. There is a secret that makes discipline easier: identity. If you see yourself as someone struggling with discipline, you will always fight uphill. But if you decide deeply, finally, that discipline is who you are, everything changes. A soldier does not wake up wondering if they will obey the call. A professional does not debate whether to show up. Their identity decides for them. So too must you decide. You are disciplined because your future is worth it. You are disciplined because your purpose demands it. You are disciplined because without it, your vision dies unborn. Discipline also requires environment. Do not place temptation at your fingertips and then curse your weakness. Structure your surroundings to favor your future. Remove what distracts you. Place reminders of your vision where your eyes fall daily. Surround yourself with people whose lives challenge you to rise. Your environment is not neutral. It is either training you for discipline or seducing you into weakness. Choose wisely. And here is the final truth. Discipline multiplies every gift you have. Talent without discipline wastes potential. Intelligence without discipline wastes opportunity. Resources without discipline waste wealth, but discipline takes even small gifts and multiplies them. You do not need to be the most talented. You do not need to be the most connected. If you are disciplined, you will outlast, outgrow, and outperform those who had every advantage but lacked the self-mastery to sustain it. So tonight, as you stand at the edge of distraction and decision, ask yourself this: will I obey impulse, or will I command it? Will I let comfort steal another night, or will I trade tonight for tomorrow's freedom? Failure is the shadow that walks beside every dream. No matter how carefully you plan, no matter how passionately you work, failure will arrive. It may come as rejection, as loss, as betrayal, as silence when you expected applause. And in that moment, when the weight of disappointment presses down, you will be faced with the question that has broken countless souls. Will you rise, or will you remain fallen? Resilience is the art of rising. It is not denial of pain, nor blindness to reality. Resilience looks pain in the eye and says, you may strike me, but you will not stop me. You may slow me, but you will not end me. It is the refusal to let failure be final. Understand this: failure is not the opposite of success. It is the foundation of it. Every breakthrough stands upon the rubble of attempts that did not work. Every master was once a beginner who stumbled more times than others were willing to try. The difference is not that they avoided failure, but that they harvested it. They took the lessons, the strength, the humility, and they kept moving. The world often teaches us to fear failure, to avoid risk, to protect our pride at all costs. But safety is the enemy of growth. If you never fail, it means you never tried. If you never stumble, it means you never stretched. And if you never stretched, you will never grow. The absence of failure is not success. It is mediocrity. Think of a child learning to walk. They fall 100 times, maybe more. Yet no one calls them a failure. No one says walking isn't for you. We understand instinctively that falling is part of learning. And yet when we grow older, we forget. We treat our stumbles as verdicts instead of teachers. But the truth has not changed. Falling is still learning. Stumbling is still progress. The only true failure is quitting. Resilience transforms the narrative. Instead of saying, I failed, you learn to say, I discovered a way that did not work. Instead of asking, why me, you ask, what can this teach me? And in that simple shift, failure becomes a stepping stone rather than a tombstone. Consider the lives of those we call great. Their biographies are not stories of smooth success. They are records of repeated resilience. Entrepreneurs who went bankrupt before building empires. Writers who were rejected dozens of times before publishing classics. Leaders who were scorned before becoming revered. If you stripped resilience from their story, there would be no story. But resilience is not automatic. It must be chosen. When failure comes, it whispers lies. You are not enough. This proves you cannot succeed. Stop before you embarrass yourself further. And many listen. But the resilient refuse. They do not deny the pain. They acknowledge it. They do not ignore the loss. They grieve it. But then they stand. They take another step. They refuse to let the voice of defeat write the ending. There is power in perspective. Resilient people see failure differently. They understand that pain is temporary, but quitting is permanent. They understand that rejection today does not mean rejection forever. They understand that every stumble carries within it the seed of wisdom that makes the next attempt stronger. Perspective is the lens that turns setbacks into setups. But resilience is also born from preparation. If your sense of worth is tied only to immediate results, failure will shatter you. But if your worth is anchored in your vision, in your long-term purpose, failure loses its sting. You understand that tonight's rejection is just one step in a journey of 1,000 miles. You see the bigger picture, and that perspective keeps you moving when others stop. Let us also remember, resilience is not only about bouncing back quickly. Sometimes resilience means resting, then rising. Sometimes it means pausing to heal, then continuing. The resilient are not superhuman. They bleed, they weep, they doubt. But after the storm, they rebuild. After the fall, they rise. Resilience is not speed, it is return. And here lies a great paradox. Failure, when faced with resilience, becomes fuel. It burns away complacency. It sharpens focus. It humbles arrogance. It forces creativity. In truth, some of the greatest successes are born directly out of failure. Without the pain of falling, the hunger to rise higher would never exist. Think of steel. It is only made strong by fire. Without the heat, without the pounding, it remains weak. Your failures are the fire. Your resilience is the forge. Each setback refines you, tempers you, strengthens you, until one day you realize that what once broke you can no longer even bend you. And yet resilience is not built in the moment of crisis. It is built daily in small choices. Every time you finish what you start, even when tired, you build resilience. Every time you keep a promise, even when tempted, you build resilience. Every time you step outside comfort, even when afraid, you build resilience. Then, when failure strikes, you are not empty. You are trained. You do not crumble. You bend, then return. Tonight, you may be carrying wounds. Perhaps you have tried and fallen. Perhaps you invested time, money, trust, and it vanished. Perhaps the silence of rejection has broken your spirit. Let me tell you, this is not the end. This is not the verdict. This is the valley where resilience is born. And if you choose to rise tonight, if you choose to take one more step, if you choose to see this failure as foundation, you will discover a power far greater than luck. You will discover your unbreakable spirit. The resilient are rare, and because they are rare, they rise. While others surrender, they stand. While others complain, they learn. While others retreat, they advance. And over time, resilience itself becomes their advantage. People trust those who cannot be shaken. Opportunities come to those who cannot be broken. Fortune favors those who keep moving. So do not curse your failures. Do not despise your rejections. Do not fear your stumbles. They are not enemies. They are allies in disguise. They are chisels shaping you into someone capable of carrying greatness. Tonight, decide that failure will not define you. Decide that rejection will not end you. Decide that resilience will be your identity. For in the end, success is not the absence of failure, it is the mastery of it. And those who master failure, those who turn every fall into a step, are unstoppable. Rise. There comes a moment in every journey when resilience alone is not enough. You have learned to endure, to rise after falling, to weather storms without breaking. But resilience is survival, And survival, though noble, is not the summit. To climb higher, seize opportunities that others never touch. You must awaken something deeper. You must awaken courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act while fear is loudest. It is the fire that burns in your chest when logic whispers retreat, when doubt screams failure, when comfort pleads for safety. Courage is the choice to move anyway. Most people stop after resilience. They learn to withstand, but they never dare to expand. They settle into stability, mistaking survival for success. But fortune does not reward the merely stable. Fortune bends to the bold. It opens doors to those who knock loudly, who walk into unknown rooms, who risk not only comfort, but certainty. Think of history's greatest breakthroughs. They were not born in safety. They were born in the daring of those who leapt when the ground was uncertain. The entrepreneur who risked ridicule to launch an idea no one understood. The artist who unveiled a work the world was not ready to accept. The leader who stood against a tide of opposition. All of them were afraid. All of them faced rejection. But all of them acted with courage in the world bent to their daring. Courage is a multiplier. Without it, your resilience keeps you alive, but only within the walls of the familiar. With it, your resilience becomes wings, lifting you into the unknown. It transforms your survival into expansion, your defense into offense. It is courage that separates the ordinary from the legendary. But courage must be practiced. It begins in small risks. The conversation you fear to have, the project you hesitate to start, the opportunity you almost ignore. Each time you lean into fear instead of away from it, you strengthen your courage, and courage, like muscle, grows with use. Soon the risks that once terrified you become stepping stones, and the leaps that once seemed impossible become your natural path. Courage is also contagious. When you act boldly, you give others permission to do the same. Your risk becomes their inspiration. Your leap becomes their proof. People are drawn to courage because it is rare, and in a world trained to avoid risk, the courageous stand out like fire in the night. But let us not romanticize courage. It is costly. Courage means risking failure publicly, not privately. It means stepping into arenas where defeat is visible, where critics sharpen their words, where the crowd may laugh. It means making choices with no guarantees, investing where returns are uncertain, moving forward without a map. Courage is not comfortable. It is raw, vulnerable, dangerous. But it is also the only path to greatness. The truth is, fear never leaves. Many wait for fear to vanish before acting, but fear is a shadow that follows every dream. Courage does not wait for its absence. It moves in its presence. If you are waiting for fear to fade, you will wait forever. But if you decide tonight to move with fear in your chest and fire in your eyes, you will discover that fear cannot stop motion. It weakens only those who stand still. Consider the lion. It does not live without fear. It simply lives with greater roar. Courage is your roar in the presence of fear. It is the declaration that though danger exists, though risk is real, though loss is possible, you will not bow. You will not retreat. You will step forward with trembling hands and steady heart, because your vision is worth the risk. And here lies the paradox. Fortune often hides behind the very fears you avoid. The opportunity you fear most is often the one that will change everything. The conversation you dread may unlock a partnership. The investment you hesitate to make may multiply your resources. The stage you fear to stand on may introduce you to thousands. Fear guards the gates of fortune, and courage is the key. But courage is not recklessness. It is not leaping without thought, nor risking without wisdom. Courage is calculated daring. It is weighing the risk, acknowledging the danger, and still saying yes. It is knowing you may fail, but refusing to let the possibility of failure outweigh the possibility of growth. Recklessness is blind. Courage is clear-eyed. Recklessness destroys. Courage builds. To live courageously, you must also silence the voices of others. For nothing kills courage faster than the opinions of the fearful. They will project their doubts onto you, call your dreams impossible, your risks foolish, your vision naive. They will cloak their fear as wisdom, their hesitation as care. But if you let their voices dictate your path, you will inherit their smallness. Courage requires deafness to the doubters and faithfulness to your own vision. And when courage meets resilience, something extraordinary happens. You become unstoppable. Resilience ensures you rise after falling. Courage ensures you rise higher than before. Resilience teaches you to endure failure. Courage teaches you to embrace risk again and again until success bends to your persistence. Together they form the rhythm of progress. Fall, rise, leap, fall, rise, leap, and each cycle carries you further than the last. Tonight, the call is not just to endure, but to dare, to take the idea you have been hiding and act on it, to make the decision you have delayed, to speak the truth you have swallowed, to send the message you have written but never delivered, to risk the embarrassment, the rejection, the failure, because without risk, there is no reward. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of tonight? What dream have I silenced because fear was louder? What opportunity lies just beyond the wall of my hesitation? And then decide tonight, I will dare. Tonight, I will act with courage, not because I am fearless, but because my vision deserves action even in the presence of fear. The future does not belong to the comfortable. It does not belong to the cautious. It belongs to the courageous. Vision is the language of destiny. It is the art of seeing beyond what is into what could be. Without vision, even courage runs aimlessly, and resilience drifts without direction. Vision is the compass of the bold, the star in the night sky that guides those willing to journey further than the crowd dares to travel. Too many live only by sight. They see what is in front of them, the bills to pay, the routines to follow, the problems to endure, and they mistake sight for reality. But sight is not truth, it is limitation. Vision is what pierces limitation. Vision allows you to look at empty ground and see a future city, to look at failure and see a foundation, to look at yourself with all your flaws and still see greatness waiting to be awakened. The truth is, vision separates leaders from followers. Followers live by what they see. Leaders live by what they envision. Sight is common, vision is rare, and it is visionaries who alter the course of history. Think of the dreamers who stood at the edge of impossibility. They saw machines that could fly when men insisted humans were meant only to walk. They saw invisible signals carrying voices across oceans when others laughed at the thought. They saw equality when the world was bound in chains of division. Vision was their gift and courage was their response. And though they were ridiculed, resisted, even rejected, the world eventually bowed to their vision. Vision is the ability to live in the present but build for the future. It is not fantasy. It is faith with direction. Fantasy lives only in dreams, but vision calls for labor, for sweat, for sacrifice. Vision says, I see what others cannot, and I will work until they see it too. But vision is fragile when it is first born. It begins as a whisper, a picture in your mind, a stirring in your soul. At first it feels impossible to explain. Others may shrug it off, laugh at it, call it impractical. And this is where many lose their vision. They trade it for acceptance, for the comfort of the crowd. But if you dare to guard your vision, to nurture it like a seed, to water it with effort and protect it from the weeds of doubt, it will grow into something undeniable. Vision requires solitude. In the noise of the world, in the constant chatter of opinions, vision cannot breathe. You must step away at times, into silence, into reflection, into the deep wells of your own imagination where the world cannot touch you. It is in these moments of solitude that vision sharpens, that clarity emerges, that the blurred becomes defined. And vision requires imagination. Too many believe imagination is for children, that it fades with age, that adulthood is about practicality alone. But imagination is the workshop of vision. It is where you allow yourself to ask, what if? What if I could build something new? What if I could live differently? What if I could rise higher than my circumstances? Imagination is the soil where vision takes root. Without it, you will forever recycle the past instead of creating the future. But vision without discipline is illusion. It is not enough to dream, you must build. Vision calls for strategy, for structure, for small steps that move toward great outcomes. A visionary without discipline is a wanderer. A visionary with discipline is a builder of worlds. This is why visionaries must also master patience. Great visions do not unfold overnight. They take years, sometimes decades to materialize, And in those years, discouragement will tempt you, delay will frustrate you, obstacles will challenge you, but patience is proof of faith. If you believe in your vision deeply enough, you will endure the long road to its realization. Vision is also expansive. It is never only for you. A true vision always outgrows its originator. It lifts others, inspires others, creates opportunities for others. A selfish dream dies small, but a generous vision builds legacies. Look at the greatest leaders in history. Their visions did not only elevate themselves, they elevated nations, communities, movements. If your vision is only about your own success, it is too small. True vision includes others. And yet, vision will cost you. It will separate you from the crowd because visionaries walk paths that others cannot see. It may isolate you, misunderstood, doubted, even mocked. But this is the price of sight beyond sight. You cannot expect the blind to understand color, and you cannot expect the visionless to grasp your dream. You must be willing to walk alone until your vision becomes visible. Vision also requires resilience and courage, the foundations already laid. Without resilience, you will abandon your vision at the first sign of failure. Without courage, you will never act on it in the first place. Vision needs both resilience to endure the storms and courage to take the risks that bring it to life. But when vision is combined with resilience and courage, it transforms everything. Resilience keeps you standing. Courage keeps you moving, and vision keeps you aimed toward a destiny larger than yourself. Together, they form the trinity of greatness. So how do you discover your vision? You begin by asking questions deeper than survival. Do not ask only, how do I make money? Ask, why was I born? What difference can I make? What legacy can I leave? Money sustains life, but vision defines it. You were not born merely to earn and consume. You were born to create, to impact, to build something that outlives you. Your vision is hidden in the intersection of your passion, your talent, and your purpose. And once you find it, write it, speak it, declare it until it becomes part of your identity. A vision unspoken is a vision easily forgotten. But when you declare it, you bind yourself to it. You hold yourself accountable. You give it life in the world. Then take steps, small ones at first. Vision may be vast, but it begins in the details. The book begins with a page. The business begins with a plan. The movement begins with a message. Do not despise the small beginnings. They are the proof that your vision has legs. And do not wait for permission. Visionaries are never given approval by the masses. If you wait for everyone to agree, you will die waiting. You must move forward when no one else sees what you see. Visionaries lead. They do not follow. They create the path where none exists, and by their faith others learn to walk. Every vision carries a price. Every destiny demands a toll. Nothing of worth is ever gained without sacrifice. This is the truth that many avoid, the reality most try to escape. But sacrifice is the currency of greatness, and those unwilling to pay it remain forever in the land of mediocrity. You cannot climb to the summit while carrying the weight of everything you refuse to release. To ascend, you must lay things down, comfort, distraction, convenience, even relationships that cannot journey with you. Sacrifice is not punishment, it is purification. It strips away what is lesser so you may grasp what is greater. Many admire the rewards of greatness, but few embrace its cost. They want the crown, but not the cross. They want the glory without the grind. But life does not work this way. The universe, in its silent laws, ensures that every elevation is purchased. Success is never free. It always requires a trade. Sacrifice is time. It means giving hours that others spend in leisure and investing them in your craft, your growth, your vision. While the world sleeps, you are awake, learning, building, refining. While others drift in ease, you are sharpening yourself for battle. Time is the one resource we can never reclaim, and to choose greatness is to spend it wisely, ruthlessly, intentionally. Sacrifice is comfort. It means stepping into places that stretch you, into tasks that weary you, into disciplines that demand your body, your mind, your spirit. Comfort seduces with its softness, but comfort is the enemy of progress. Growth begins at the edge of pain. where muscles tear and reform stronger, where habits break and are remade, where fear is faced until it flees. If you live only for comfort, you will never know transformation. Sacrifice is desire. To chase one great dream, you must say no to 1,000 lesser ones. The world will tempt you with distractions, with pleasures, with shortcuts, but every yes you give to them is a no you give to your vision. Sacrifice teaches you the art of refusal, the strength of focus, the power of discipline. It is not about loss. It is about choosing what matters most. Sacrifice is misunderstanding. To pursue a vision that others cannot see is to invite their doubt, their ridicule, their judgment. You will be called foolish, obsessed, even arrogant. Friends may drift. Family may not understand. Colleagues may whisper. But this is the price of walking a path alone before others recognize it as a road. You must be willing to endure seasons where you are unseen, unsupported, even opposed. Sacrifice is risk. To invest in what is not yet visible, to put resources into what is not yet proven, to stake your future on what only you can see, this is sacrifice. It is the willingness to let go of certainty in exchange for possibility. And though the risk is real, so too is the reward. Every innovation, every breakthrough, every revolution was birthed by those who risked what was safe for what was possible. And sacrifice is persistence. Not the flash of effort for a moment, but the steady, relentless, exhausting grind of years. The world honors the finished product, but it ignores the silent decades of work that made it possible. Sacrifice means showing up when you are tired, pushing when you are weary, continuing when results are invisible. It means living in faith that your labor is not wasted even when fruit is delayed. Sacrifice, however, is not without reward. It is not meaningless suffering. Every hour given, every comfort surrendered, every misunderstanding endured becomes fuel for the future. Sacrifice transforms you. It chisels away weakness, forges resilience, sharpens focus, strengthens resolve. The price you pay builds the person you must become to carry the destiny you seek. Without sacrifice, even if success were handed to you, you would not have the strength to hold it. But sacrifice is lonely. The higher you climb, the fewer walk with you. Many begin the journey, but when the cost rises, they turn back. You will have to decide, will you go on when others quit? Will you press forward when the road narrows? Will you pay what others refuse? The summit belongs to the few, not because it is forbidden to the many, but because few are willing to endure the cost. Sacrifice is also seasonal. There will be years when you give more than you gain, when the balance tilts toward loss, when your investment seems foolish. These are the proving grounds of destiny. They test your conviction, your faith, your endurance. And if you remain steadfast, the season will shift. Sacrifice will give way to harvest, loss to gain, pain to power, but only if you endure. Sacrifice demands choice. You cannot have everything. To say yes to one path is to say no to countless others. This is the agony of decision, the pain of priority, but it is also the beauty of clarity. For when you choose what matters most, your life aligns. Your energy is no longer scattered. It is concentrated, focused, unstoppable. Do not fear sacrifice. Fear a life without it. For a life without sacrifice is a life without significance. It is a life that drifts, that settles, that ends in regret. Sacrifice is not the enemy. It is the evidence that you are reaching for something beyond yourself. And sacrifice is not forever. It is not endless suffering. It is a season that builds toward reward. Every great achievement, every monumental breakthrough, every lasting legacy is born from sacrifice. Those who pay the price reap the reward. Those who avoid the cost remain where they began. Tonight, ask yourself, what am I willing to give? What am I willing to release, to endure, to risk, to trade in order to walk into the destiny I desire? Do not speak of vision without sacrifice. Do not dream of greatness without cost. The two are inseparable. You must be willing to pay now for what will elevate you later, to sow in tears that you may reap in triumph, to carry the weight today that you may wear the crown tomorrow. For sacrifice is the bridge between vision and reality, and only those who walk that bridge ever touch the life they were born to live. Faith is the unseen engine that carries vision across the chasm of impossibility. Where courage takes the first step and sacrifice pays the price, faith sustains the journey when results are delayed, when evidence is absent, when the horizon seems further away with every stride. Faith is not blind optimism. It is not wishful thinking. Faith is conviction in the invisible. It is the unshakable belief that what you pursue exists, even if it cannot yet be touched. It is choosing to walk through the fog, trusting that the ground will appear beneath your feet. The greatest danger to vision is not opposition, not failure, not sacrifice. It is doubt. Doubt is the whisper that corrodes from within, the quiet erosion of conviction. Faith is the shield against doubt. It is the voice that says, even though I do not see it yet, I know it is coming. Faith is tested in silence. When the crowd cheers, faith is easy. When progress is visible, faith feels natural. But when doors remain closed, when nights are long, when prayers seem unanswered, when effort seems wasted, this is where faith proves itself. Faith is forged in the unseen, in the waiting, in the wilderness. Consider the farmer. He plants seeds into dark soil invisible to his eyes. Days pass, weeks pass with no sign of life. The ground looks barren, the labor feels futile. But beneath the surface, in silence, transformation is occurring. The seed breaks, roots spread, life awakens. Faith is trusting the unseen work, believing in the process when the field looks empty. So it is with your vision. You will labor for months, for years, perhaps for decades, with little to show. You will question whether you are foolish, whether your sacrifices are wasted, whether your dream was an illusion. And in those moments you must remember, faith sees what sight cannot. Faith whispers the roots are growing. The harvest is coming. Do not give up. Faith also demands patience. In a world addicted to immediacy where results are expected overnight, patience is rare. But the deepest works of destiny are slow, deliberate, unhurried. Oaks do not grow in a season, and neither do legacies. Faith refuses to rush. It trusts that timing has purpose, that delay is not denial, that waiting is part of the process. Faith is also action. Too many mistake faith for passivity, for sitting still and hoping. But faith moves. Faith builds the ark before the rain comes. Faith prepares the speech before the stage is offered. Faith writes the book before the audience exists. It is not waiting idly. It is working actively, fueled by conviction that the unseen will one day be seen. And faith is resilience in disguise. Every time you rise after failure, every time you push after rejection, every time you keep walking when the path is unclear, you are practicing faith. Faith is not proven in words. It is proven in persistence. But faith is lonely. Few will believe in what they cannot see. They will mock your confidence, dismiss your conviction, call you naive. They will demand proof before they offer support, and you must be willing to walk alone with faith as your only companion. The crowd follows evidence, the visionary follows faith. Faith requires focus. You cannot feed your faith with negativity, with doubt, with voices of fear. Whatever you feed will grow. If you feed doubt, it will strangle your vision. If you feed faith, it will carry you through storms. Protect your mind, guard your spirit, surround yourself with those who fuel belief, not those who drain it. And faith is contagious. Though it begins in solitude, when expressed boldly, it ignites others. People long to believe, but many lack the courage. When they see someone live by faith, they glimpse possibility. Your faith becomes their spark, your conviction their invitation. One person's faith can awaken a movement. Faith is not always rewarded quickly. Sometimes the fulfillment of vision comes long after the faith that birthed it. Some plant seeds they will never harvest, yet their faith ensures future generations eat from their labor. This is legacy. Faith that outlives the dreamer, faith that builds bridges others cross, faith that writes stories others continue. Yet do not confuse delay with denial. Often the very moment you are tempted to quit is the moment your breakthrough is nearest. Faith holds the line when strength is gone, when hope flickers, when the night feels endless. Faith whispers, hold on, morning is near. And faith transforms you. More than the reward, more than the vision fulfilled. Faith changes who you become. It stretches your endurance, sharpens your perspective, deepens your resilience. Faith is not just the bridge to destiny, it is the fire that forges the traveler. So tonight, ask yourself, what do I believe in when evidence is absent? What do I cling to when nothing in sight supports my dream? Do I give up when the ground looks barren, or do I trust that roots are forming beneath the soil? Faith is not easy. It will test you, stretch you, strip you, but without it you will abandon your vision in the waiting. With it, you will endure, you will persist, you will rise until the unseen becomes undeniable. You cannot borrow faith. You must build it. You must choose it daily, feed it, strengthen it, guard it. It is the invisible power that makes the impossible possible. And when all else fails, when courage falters, when sacrifice wearies, when vision dims, faith remains. Faith is the quiet voice that says, not yet, but soon, not today, but one day. Keep going. For faith is the bridge between sacrifice and fulfillment, the anchor in the storm, the fire in the dark. And if you hold to faith tonight, you will discover that nothing is truly impossible. Discipline is the silent force that turns fleeting passion into lasting power. It is the steady rhythm that carries you forward long after motivation fades, long after excitement cools, long after applause dies away. Discipline is the proof of commitment, the daily choice to act whether you feel like it or not. Many dream, many hope, many even begin, but few endure. And the difference is not talent, not opportunity, not even luck. It is discipline, the willingness to rise each day and move forward, to show up again and again, to do the hard thing long after the novelty has vanished. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is glorious in its results. Discipline is the grind behind greatness. Every master, every leader, every builder who altered the course of history was shaped by it. The athlete training in silence, the writer filling pages in obscurity, the visionary refining plans in solitude. All of them were carried not by bursts of passion, but by steady discipline. Passion ignites, discipline sustains. Discipline is freedom disguised as restriction. To the undisciplined, it feels like chains, rules, routine, sacrifices. But in truth, discipline is the key to liberty. The disciplined body is free to endure what others cannot. The disciplined mind is free to create with clarity. The disciplined life is free from chaos, from distraction, from regret. Lack of discipline is not freedom. It is bondage to impulse, to weakness, to waste. Discipline is consistency. It is not about doing everything at once, but about doing the right things again and again until they become second nature. Consistency compounds. A single action may feel small, but repeated daily, it builds momentum unstoppable. Drops of water carve canyons, not through power, but through persistence. Discipline is mastery over self. The greatest battles are not against competitors, nor circumstances, nor even failure. They are against your own mind, your own impulses, your own excuses. Discipline is the voice that says, I will not be ruled by comfort. I will not bow to laziness. I will not surrender to distraction. It is sovereignty over your own soul. But discipline is difficult because it is silent. The world does not clap when you wake early, when you train in solitude, when you decline distractions. There is no spotlight on routine. Discipline is unseen labor, invisible effort. And because it lacks recognition, many abandon it. But those who endure the silent years are the ones who shine in the appointed time. Discipline is also direction. It is not doing more, but doing what matters most. Without direction, discipline becomes exhaustion. True discipline aligns with vision, focuses on priorities, eliminates the unnecessary. It is sharpening the blade instead of swinging wildly. It is quality of effort, not just quantity. And discipline demands sacrifice. You cannot indulge every desire and build greatness. You cannot entertain every distraction and remain focused. Discipline means choosing long-term gain over short-term pleasure, purpose over impulse, destiny over desire. The undisciplined trade their future for the comfort of the present. The disciplined trade the comfort of the present for the power of the future. But discipline is not perfection. It does not demand flawless performance. It demands relentless return. You will stumble, you will break routine, you will fail, but discipline says, begin again. The power of discipline is not in never falling. It is in always rising, always returning, always pressing forward. Discipline builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep your word to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you follow through, your identity strengthens. Discipline is how you learn to believe in yourself, not through grand declarations, but through daily actions. Confidence is not born in speeches, it is born in discipline. And discipline is contagious. Those who live it inspire others to rise higher. A disciplined leader builds disciplined teams. A disciplined parent raises disciplined children. A disciplined creator stirs disciplined followers. Your consistency becomes an atmosphere, and those around you are lifted or lowered by it. Discipline is also a shield. Life will test you with storms, distractions, temptations. The undisciplined are swept away. But the disciplined stand firm. Their habits protect them. Their routines anchor them. Their focus steadies them. Discipline is the armor that guards vision through the battles of life. But discipline must be balanced with grace. Rigidity without compassion breaks the spirit. True discipline is not punishment. It is alignment. It is structure that supports growth, not rules that crush it. Discipline done with wisdom strengthens. Discipline done with cruelty destroys. The truth is, discipline is a choice. No one can force it upon you. You must decide, will I rule myself or will I be ruled by impulse? Will I shape my days or will I be shaped by them? Every action, every decision, every habit is a vote for who you will become. Discipline is also cumulative. What begins as effort becomes habit. What begins as habit becomes identity. At first, discipline feels heavy, like lifting weight you are not used to carrying. But with repetition, the weight becomes lighter until one day, what once was difficult becomes effortless. Discipline transforms struggle into instinct. And discipline is love for the future self. It is making choices today that your tomorrow will thank you for. It is writing the letter to your future, saying, I cared enough to prepare. I cared enough to endure. I cared enough to build a foundation you can stand on. Lack of discipline is betrayal of your future. Discipline is devotion to it. Tonight, the question is not whether you have passion, not whether you have vision, not even whether you have courage. The question is, will you have discipline? Will you rise when you do not feel like rising? Will you build when the crowd sleeps? Will you show up again and again until momentum becomes unstoppable? Discipline is not a single act. It is a life. It is the art of mastering the small so the great may emerge. And if you choose it, if you embrace it, if you let it govern your days, then there will be nothing beyond your reach. For discipline is the bridge from faith to fulfillment, from effort to excellence, from dream to destiny. And those who master discipline do not just achieve greatness, they embody it. Leadership is not a title. It is not a crown placed upon the head, nor a position handed down by authority. True leadership is earned in silence, proven in sacrifice, revealed in action. It is not something you declare about yourself. It is something others recognize within you. A leader is not chosen because they desire power, but because they carry responsibility. Leadership is not about standing above others. It is about standing before them, bearing the weight of their hope, their struggle, their destiny. To lead is to serve, not in weakness, but in strength. True leadership begins with vision. Where others see obstacles, the leader sees a horizon. Where others see chaos, the leader sees possibility. Vision is the fire in the leader's eyes, the light that guides through storms, the map that turns confusion into direction. Without vision, leadership collapses into control. But with vision, leadership becomes inspiration. Leadership is also courage, to step forward when others shrink back, to speak truth when silence is safer, to take the first step into unknown territory. The leader does not ask, is it easy, but is it right? The path of leadership is often lonely, for the leader must go first, facing resistance, criticism, doubt. But courage is the seed from which trust grows. And leadership is integrity. A leader without integrity is a danger, a shadow, a hollow figure. Integrity is the alignment of word and deed, the harmony of principle and practice. It is truth lived out consistently. Followers can forgive mistakes, but they cannot follow deception. Trust. once broken, is not easily restored. Leadership without integrity is not leadership, it is manipulation. A true leader does not demand respect. They earn it, not through fear, but through faithfulness, not through power, but through consistency, not through command, but through example. The strongest leaders are those whose lives speak louder than their words, whose character becomes the standard, whose discipline becomes contagious. Leadership is not about perfection. It is about accountability. The leader is not flawless, but they are willing to admit failure, to learn openly, to grow visibly. Pretending to be without weakness does not inspire. It alienates. But honesty, humility, and the willingness to improve draw others closer, for it makes greatness seem attainable. A leader listens before they speak. They hear not only the words of others, but the unspoken fears, the hidden hopes, the silent cries. Listening builds trust, and trust is the foundation of leadership. Without trust, no vision can be shared, no progress sustained, no unity forged. Leadership is stewardship. It is holding the lives, the efforts, the sacrifices of others in your hands. To lead is to be entrusted with something sacred, the energy of people who believe in the cause, who give their time, who stake their future on the path you chart. To misuse this trust is betrayal. To honor it is legacy. But leadership is also burden. It is carrying weight that others will never see, facing decisions that cannot please everyone, enduring criticism from those who do not understand. The leader often bleeds unseen, weeps unheard, struggles in silence, yet they endure because leadership is not about comfort. It is about calling. Leadership demands resilience. The storms will come, failure, resistance, betrayal. There will be moments when even the leader doubts themselves, but resilience keeps them steady, rooted, unshaken. The leader does not quit when it is hard. They press on when it is hardest, for they know others are watching, drawing strength from their endurance. And leadership multiplies itself. A true leader does not create followers. They create other leaders. They lift, they mentor, they empower, they equip. The measure of leadership is not how many obey, but how many rise. A leader who hoards power builds dependency. A leader who shares power builds legacy. Leadership is presence. The steadying hand in crisis, the calm voice in chaos, the unwavering figure in uncertainty. Sometimes leadership is not in grand speeches or dramatic actions. It is in simply being there, unmovable, a reminder that not all has been lost. Presence is power. And leadership is sacrifice. To lead is to give more, to bear more, to endure more. It is rising earlier, working harder, carrying heavier burdens. The leader eats last, sleeps less, and serves most. Leadership is not privilege, it is responsibility. The crown of leadership is lined with thorns, not jewels. But leadership is also reward. Not in riches, not in applause, but in the sight of lives changed, in the growth of those once afraid to stand, in the victory of a vision once doubted. The true reward of leadership is not personal glory, it is collective triumph. A leader must balance strength with compassion. Strength without compassion is tyranny. Compassion without strength is weakness. Leadership is the union of both, the unshakable will and the tender heart, the steel spine and the open hand. The leader is not cold commander nor soft appeaser. They are both shield and shepherd. Leadership is tested most in crisis. Anyone can appear strong when times are easy, but when the storm rages, when hope is scarce, when fear grips the hearts of many, then the true leader emerges. Crisis does not create leadership. It reveals it, and those who have built discipline, integrity, and vision in the quiet years will shine brightest when darkness falls. Leadership requires faith, not only in the vision, but in the people. The leader believes in those who do not yet believe in themselves, sees strength in those who see only weakness, calls out greatness in those who feel small. Faith in people awakens faith within them, and they rise higher than they thought possible. Yet leadership is lonely. To see farther is to stand apart, to carry burdens unseen, to walk paths misunderstood. But in that loneliness is also clarity. The leader learns to hear the whisper of purpose above the roar of opinion, the call of destiny above the noise of doubt. The true leader understands that leadership is temporary. They are but a steward of their time, a guardian of their generation. Eventually the mantle will pass. The wise leader prepares for that moment, ensuring the work will outlast them, ensuring others are ready to carry the torch. Leadership that dies with the leader was never true leadership. Leadership begins within. Before one can lead others, one must lead oneself. Without self-mastery, without discipline, without integrity, attempts at leadership collapse into hypocrisy. The leader who cannot rule their own spirit cannot guide others. Leadership is not first outward, it is inward. And leadership is love, not sentiment, not softness, but the fierce love that wills the good of others, that seeks their growth, their safety, their flourishing. Love is the root from which all true leadership springs. Without it, leadership becomes self-serving. With it, leadership becomes transformative. At the end of all things, leadership is not measured in words spoken, nor commands given, nor power held. It is measured in lives touched, in futures shaped, in legacies left. True leadership leaves the world different than it found it. So the question is not whether you desire to lead. The question is, will you bear the weight? Will you serve when unseen? Will you remain steady when storms rage? Will you build others even at cost to yourself? For leadership is not about ascending to greatness. It is about lifting others into it. And those who choose this path may walk through fire, may carry unseen burdens, may endure solitude and sacrifice. But they will also stand where few have stood, shaping not only their own destiny, but the destiny of all who follow. Leadership is not a gift, it is a choice. And if you choose it, if you embrace it, if you embody it, then you will not simply lead. You will leave a mark upon the earth that time cannot erase. Resilience is not merely survival. It is not clinging desperately to life, battered and broken by the storm. Resilience is the art of rising stronger after the fall, of turning wounds into wisdom, of making pain serve your progress. It is the secret force that separates those who endure from those who surrender, those who grow from those who collapse. Every life will face storms. To live is to be tested. There will be nights of loneliness, days of failure, seasons of loss. Dreams will shatter, promises will break, plans will crumble. And in those moments when the weight seems unbearable, resilience is the difference between defeat and destiny. Resilience begins with perspective. The unresilient ask, why me? The resilient ask, what now? The one who asks why stays chained to pain, circling endlessly around injustice. But the one who asks what now transforms pain into purpose. They refuse to be victims of circumstance. They choose to be authors of their response. Resilience is not denial. It does not pretend that the wound is not real, that the storm is not fierce, that the loss is not deep. Resilience weeps, but it does not remain in tears. It feels the pain, but it does not bow to it. Resilience acknowledges suffering while refusing to let suffering define the future. Resilience is built in adversity. You cannot grow it in comfort. Muscles do not grow without strain, and neither does the spirit. The moments that feel unbearable are the very moments that forge resilience. The fire that burns is also the fire that purifies. The storm that rages is also the storm that strengthens. Without resistance, there is no resilience. Think of the tree that grows on the mountain peak. Its roots burrow deep into rock. Its branches bend under gales. Its bark is scarred by lightning. Yet it stands. It has learned to yield without breaking, to bend without surrendering, to dig deeper when winds roar louder. Resilience is that tree within you, rooted, scarred, yet unbroken. Resilience is the refusal to let failure have the final word. Every person will fail. Every dreamer will stumble. But the resilient see failure not as an ending, but as a lesson. They ask, what did this diss me? What strength can I gain? How will this prepare me for tomorrow? Failure becomes fuel. The resilient transform mistakes into mastery. Resilience requires endurance. Not every storm ends quickly. Some seasons of hardship stretch on month after month, year after year. Resilience is not only the ability to rise once, it is the strength to rise again and again, to endure the long night until dawn comes. It is not a single act of courage. It is a sustained posture of defiance against despair. And resilience requires hope. Without hope, endurance crumbles into despair. Hope is the vision of light beyond the darkness. the belief that tomorrow holds possibility, the conviction that the storm will not last forever. Hope is not naive, it is necessary. Without it, resilience cannot live. Resilience is also humility. To be resilient is to accept help when needed, to lean on others without shame, to recognize that strength does not mean isolation. The resilient do not try to carry every burden alone. They find allies, they draw strength from community, they share their scars as testimony. True resilience is never solitary. It is strengthened in connection. Resilience is memory. It remembers that storms have come before, and yet you survived. It recalls past victories, past escapes, past recoveries. The resilient say, I have endured worse. I will endure this. Memory is proof that resilience has carried you before and will carry you again.
But resilience is not automatic.
It must be chosen. You must decide again and again to rise when it would be easier to remain fallen. You must decide to press forward when quitting whispers seductively. You must decide to wrest meaning from pain rather than letting pain consume you. Each choice builds the habit of resilience. Resilience also demands identity. If you see yourself as fragile, you will break. If you see yourself as cursed, you will despair. But if you decide deeply that you are resilient, your spirit will obey. Identity shapes endurance. The strongest resilience is not in the body, it is in the mind. The belief that nothing can finally defeat you. Resilience transforms scars into strength. The wound you survived becomes the wisdom you share. The storm you endured becomes the story that inspires. The pain you carried becomes the power you wield. Resilience turns brokenness into testimony, making your past a weapon against despair. And resilience builds compassion. Those who have endured suffering understand suffering. Their strength does not make them cold. It makes them kind. They become voices of encouragement, sources of hope, anchors for others in storms. Resilience is not selfish. It overflows, teaching others how to endure. Resilience is tested most when the night is longest, when no breakthrough is in sight, when every effort seems wasted, when silence answers prayer and failure mocks persistence. Then resilience whispers, hold on. It is in that last stretch when all seems lost that resilience matters most. The dawn often comes just after the darkest hour. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It is about mastering it. Pain will come, loss will come, failure will come. But resilience declares, these will not define me. These will not destroy me. These will not silence me. Pain becomes passage. Loss becomes lesson. Failure becomes foundation. And here lies the paradox. Resilience is not strength without weakness. It is strength born from weakness. It is not the absence of breaking. It is the decision to rebuild stronger each time you break. The resilient are not unscarred. They are the scarred who still stand. At the end of all things, resilience is a choice. You may surrender to despair, or you may rise in defiance. You may bow to the storm, or you may bend and hold. You may let failure define you, or you may define failure as the beginning of triumph. Resilience is the heartbeat of victory. Without it, talent wastes. Without it, vision dies. Without it, opportunity slips away. But with it, even the weakest rise, even the broken rebuild, even the defeated find destiny. So tonight, as you face your storms, remember, resilience is not given. It is chosen. Pain will test you, loss will scar you, failure will wound you, but none of these have the power to destroy you unless you surrender. Resilience is your defiance. Resilience is your weapon. Resilience is your victory. Focus is the blade of success. Without it, your energy scatters, your vision blurs, your efforts dissolve into nothing. But with it, even small strength becomes powerful, even limited resources become enough. Even the impossible bends to your will. Focus is not about doing everything. It is about doing the one thing that matters most, again and again until the world cannot ignore you. The tragedy of most lives is not a lack of potential. It is a lack of focus. People chase too many things at once, scattering their days in fragments. A little work here, a little distraction there, a little effort everywhere. But greatness does not come from fragments. It comes from concentration. The sun, when spread across the sky, warms the earth. But when focused through a lens, it ignites fire. So too with your life. Scattered, it comforts no one. Focused, it sets the world ablaze. Focus begins with clarity. You cannot concentrate on what you have not defined. Ask yourself, what do I truly want? Not what others expect, not what feels good for the moment, not what distracts my mind. What do I truly, deeply, relentlessly want? Until you answer that question, your focus will falter. A blurred target produces a blurred life. But when your vision is clear, your focus sharpens and your energy unites behind it. Focus requires elimination. You cannot do everything. You cannot pursue every path, accept every invitation, chase every opportunity. To focus is to cut. It is to say, this I will do and this I will not. It is to refuse the distractions disguised as opportunities, to decline the good in order to pursue the great. Focus is not about more, it is about less, done with more intensity. And focus requires discipline. Your mind is restless, always seeking novelty, always drifting toward ease. But focus is the art of returning. Again and again, when your attention wanders, you bring it back. When temptation pulls, you resist. When distraction calls, you silence it. Focus is not natural. It is trained. Each time you return your mind to the task, you sharpen the blade. Consider the archer. Their strength is not in their bow, but in their aim. Hours, days, years are spent mastering focus, the breath steady, the hand firm, the eye fixed. One arrow perfectly placed is worth more than 1,000 shot wildly. Life is no different. Focus your aim, and your efforts will pierce through obstacles that scattershot effort could never touch. But focus is not only about attention, it is about environment. Your surroundings shape your focus. If you are surrounded by noise, distraction, clutter, you will struggle. If your phone sings with constant interruptions, if your desk is chaos, if your schedule is unguarded, your focus will die. To protect focus, you must design your environment for concentration. Remove what tempts, guard what matters, create spaces that train your mind for clarity. Focus is also about energy. You cannot focus on everything all the time. Your energy is finite, and where you spend it determines your results. The wise do not scatter their energy. They channel it. They give their best hours to their highest goals, their best strength to their deepest vision. They do not waste peak energy on trivial distractions. Focus is the art of energy allocation, giving the best of yourself to what matters most. And focus is consistency. It is not one moment of clarity, one burst of energy, one day of concentration. It is the repeated choice to return to the path again and again, day after day, year after year. Focus compounds. What you give your attention to daily becomes who you are. Where your focus goes, your future grows. But focus also requires courage, because when you choose one thing, you must let go of others. The unfocused keep doors open forever, dabbling, sampling, drifting. The focused close doors, commit, and bear the fear of missing out. Focus is risky. It demands commitment, but it is commitment that creates greatness. Focus is tested in noise. The world will pull at you urgent demands, endless entertainment, shallow pleasures. Distraction is not passive. It is aggressive. It hunts you. It seeks to steal your focus, because a distracted person is a powerless person. But if you guard your focus, if you learn to silence the noise, you will gain an edge few possess. For in this age, focus is rarer than talent and thus more valuable. And focus is freedom. The unfocused live scattered, restless, exhausted. They touch everything but hold nothing. The focused live free because they know where they are going and thus know what to ignore. Focus frees you from the prison of endless choice. It narrows the path, sharpens the journey, clarifies the mission. Focus does not mean rigidity. It does not mean refusing to adapt when the path changes. It means holding the vision steady while shifting the methods as needed. The river flows around rocks, bends through valleys, but always moves toward the sea. Focus is the river within you, flexible in path, unshakable in destination. Focus also creates presence, to give full attention to the moment, to the work, to the person before you is rare. Most listen with half an ear, work with half a mind, live with half a heart, but the focused are fully present. They listen as if nothing else exists. They work as if no distraction could intrude. They live as if every moment matters. Presence is focus made visible, and it commands respect. And focus multiplies impact. A scattered life leaves faint traces. A focused life leaves deep marks. History remembers not those who dabbled in many things, but those who mastered one, who concentrated their lives into a single blazing contribution. 100 small fires fade quickly, but one great fire can light a city. Focus is not found. It is forged. It is the result of choices, discipline, clarity, elimination. It is a daily battle against distraction, a daily return to vision, a daily commitment to give your best where it matters most. So ask yourself tonight, what has stolen my focus? What distractions must I silence? What doors must I close? And what one thing deserves the full fire of my attention? For your future depends not on how much you do, but on how well you focus. Scattered effort wastes. Concentrated effort transforms. Focus is the blade, and when sharpened, it cuts through every obstacle between you and destiny. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of fear. It is the quiet voice that whispers, do it anyway, when your heart trembles, when your knees shake, when your doubts scream louder than your faith. Courage is not the absence of trembling. It is moving forward while trembling. It is not born in ease, but in confrontation. Every life encounters fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. Fear is the shadow that follows every dream, the whisper that accompanies every vision, the chain that holds back every destiny. But courage breaks the chain. It does not silence fear. It overpowers it. Courage is a choice. No one is born fearless. Even the strongest have felt the icy hand of terror, the sinking weight of dread. But those who rise, those who dare, those who create history, choose courage over comfort. They choose to act not because fear is gone, but because purpose is greater. Courage is clarity of priority. When the vision is clear enough, when the purpose is urgent enough, fear loses its throne. The mother who rushes into danger for her child is not fearless. She is focused. Her love is greater than her fear. So too must you find what you love, what you believe, what you seek so deeply that it becomes greater than the fear that opposes you. Courage is forged in action. The longer you wait, the stronger fear grows. Hesitation feeds it. Action starves it. Each step you take, however small, weakens fear's grip. The first speech given, the first risk taken, the first attempt made, these do not remove fear, but they diminish it. Action builds evidence, and evidence builds courage. Courage is resilience in failure. For often, courage will not lead immediately to victory. Sometimes you will dare and you will fall, but courage does not retreat in failure. It rises bloodied but unbroken, declaring, I will try again. Failure is not proof of weakness. It is the path to strength. Courage transforms failure into fuel. Courage is standing alone. There will be moments when no one believes, when no one stands beside you, when your path is mocked, doubted, or despised. In that moment, courage is the spine that holds you upright. To walk alone in truth is better than to march with the crowd in falsehood. And the one who dares to stand alone often finds that others, once silent, were waiting for someone to lead the way. Courage is honesty. It is telling the truth when lies are easier, admitting weakness when pride tempts you, speaking conviction when silence is safer. Words of courage echo longer than words of comfort. They cost more, but they build trust. They forge character. They change lives. Courage is endurance. Sometimes courage is not in the dramatic leap, but in the quiet persistence. Waking up again after disappointment, showing up again after rejection, continuing again after defeat. Courage is not always loud. It is often steady, patient, unseen. The marathon requires more courage than the sprint. Courage is faith. Faith that the step you take will matter. Faith that the unknown holds possibility, not just danger. Faith that the path, though uncertain, leads to purpose. Courage without faith collapses into recklessness. But courage with faith becomes unstoppable. because it moves not only in defiance of fear, but in alignment with destiny. Courage is contagious. One act of bravery ignites another. When you dare, others see, and their own fears weaken. The soldier who stands firm strengthens the line. The speaker who speaks out awakens voices long silenced. The dreamer who dares inspires generations. Courage multiplies itself. It is not just for you, it is for everyone who watches. But courage is also lonely. It demands stepping where others refuse, facing storms others avoid, taking risks others laugh at. It may cost reputation, comfort, even safety. Yet courage knows that safety without purpose is prison, and comfort without calling is death in disguise. Courage accepts loneliness for the sake of legacy. Courage is humility before the unknown. It does not boast, pretending the path will be easy. It admits the risk, acknowledges the fear, and still steps forward. Courage is not arrogance. It is surrender to the truth that the future cannot be controlled, only entered. And courage is freedom. Fear enslaves. It shrinks life, narrows vision, binds potential. But when you act in courage, fear loses power. You expand, you grow. You become larger than the chains that once held you. Courage liberates you not from risk, but from paralysis. Not from danger, but from hesitation. Courage is built in small choices. Every day, opportunities for courage whisper to you to speak when you would stay silent, to try when you would delay, to stand when you would bow. Each small act of courage builds strength for greater acts. Courage is a muscle. The more you use it, the more it grows. Courage is legacy. The lives remembered, the names honored, the stories told, all are stories of courage, not of the safe, not of the timid, not of the hesitant. History remembers those who dared, those who acted, those who chose courage when fear would have been easier. At the end of all things, courage is not about becoming fearless. It is about choosing purpose over fear, truth over silence, action over hesitation. It is about standing, trembling, but unbroken, declaring to the storm, "You will not stop me." So tonight, as you feel the weight of doubt, as fear whispers in your ear, remember this. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to bow to it. Fear will come, fear will shout, fear will try to bind you, but courage will rise, and when it does, the world itself will shift before your step. Step forward. Tremble if you must, but step forward. For courage is not found in waiting. It is revealed in moving. And the moment you move, you discover that courage was within you all along. Faith is the unseen anchor. It is the quiet power that holds steady when storms rage, the light that flickers when darkness surrounds, the whisper that says, "There is more," when the world says, "It is over." Faith is not visible to the eye, yet it is stronger than stone, more enduring than steel. Faith is not blind. It does not deny difficulty. It does not ignore reality. It does not pretend that pain does not exist. Faith sees the mountain and believes it can be climbed. Faith faces the storm and believes it can be endured. Faith acknowledges the night and still looks for dawn. Faith is a vision stretched beyond the present. Where reason ends, faith begins. Reason says it cannot be. Faith says it has not yet been. Reason calculates the odds, faith defies them. Reason measures by what is seen, faith measures by what can be imagined. Faith is not opposed to reason, but it is greater than reason. It walks beyond its boundaries. Faith is trust. Trust that even in uncertainty, the path has meaning. Trust that even in failure, lessons endure. Trust that even in loss, life continues. Faith does not demand answers before moving. It steps forward, believing the answers will come. Faith is patience. The seed does not sprout in a day, nor does the tree bear fruit in a season. Faith waits. Faith endures. Faith holds on when all signs point to barrenness, when time stretches long, when prayers seem unanswered. Faith whispers, "Not yet," instead of "never." Faith is courage's twin. Courage acts in the face of fear. Faith acts in the face of doubt. Courage moves forward despite trembling. Faith moves forward despite uncertainty. Together they create resilience, an unstoppable force that no storm can fully break. Faith is defiance. It stands in the ashes of failure and says, "This is not the end." It looks at impossibility and dares to say, watch. It listens to the chorus of doubt and still hums its own melody of hope. Faith is rebellion against despair. Faith is endurance in silence. When prayers feel unanswered, when doors remain closed, when the waiting stretches beyond strength, faith lingers. It does not abandon. It does not surrender. It holds. Sometimes faith is not loud proclamation, but quiet persistence, the daily choice to believe in tomorrow. Faith is surrender. It accepts that not all things can be controlled, not all answers can be known, not all paths can be predicted. Faith lays down the burden of certainty and embraces the gift of trust. In surrender, there is peace. Faith is memory. It recalls past victories, past survivals, past moments where the impossible became real. It draws strength from yesterday's triumphs to face today's battles. Memory fuels faith, reminding the weary heart that miracles are not myths, but history. Faith is vision. It sees the invisible. It imagines the unbuilt. It dreams the unseen. Without faith, dreams die in the soil of doubt. With faith, they sprout, reaching toward the impossible sky. Faith gives imagination permission to live. Faith is community. Alone, faith flickers. Together, faith roars. When one falters, another strengthens. When one doubts, another believes. Faith shared multiplies itself, creating a network of endurance, a family of hope. The lone believer survives. The faithful together transform. Faith is not always dramatic. It is not always the fire on the mountain or the voice in the storm. Often it is subtle, gentle, quiet, the faith to rise again after disappointment, the faith to try again after failure, the faith to love again after heartbreak. Faith thrives not only in grand moments, but in the smallest choices. Faith is strength in weakness, it declares. Though I fall, I rise. It whispers, though I am broken, I endure. Faith gives wings to the weary, fire to the faint, resolve to the defeated. Where strength ends, faith begins. Faith is infinite. The more you exercise it, the more it grows. The more you trust, the more you see reasons to trust. The more you believe, the more you experience the fruit of belief. Faith is not consumed by use. It multiplies. Faith is freedom. Fear chains you to what is visible, what is certain, what is safe. Faith breaks the chain, allowing you to step into the unknown, to risk, to dare, to dream. Faith liberates you not from risk, but from paralysis, not from difficulty, but from despair. Faith is eternal. Empires rise and fall. Wealth fades. Power shifts. But faith endures. It threads through generations, carrying stories of survival, of miracles, of victories born not from strength alone, but from belief. Faith is the immortal inheritance of humanity. Faith is legacy. The cathedrals of stone, the movements of justice, the revolutions of freedom, all were built on faith. Faith that the unseen could be brought into being. Faith that the impossible could bend. Faith that tomorrow could be better than today. History remembers faith not as fantasy, but as foundation. At the end of all things, faith is the voice that whispers when the night is darkest, the dawn is coming. Faith is the anchor when the winds rage, holding steady when reason fails. Faith is the fire that burns when all else is cold. So, when doubt creeps in, when fear tightens its grip, when silence feels endless, hold faith, not because it is easy. Not because it guarantees immediate answers, but because without it you cannot endure, and with it you cannot be broken. Faith is not about seeing, it is about trusting. Not about knowing, it is about believing. Not about certainty, it is about surrender. So take the step even when you cannot see the ground. Lift your head even when the sky is dark. Speak the dream even when voices laugh. For faith is not waiting for proof. It is living as though proof is already on the way. And in the end, those who live by faith discover a truth greater than all fear, that what they believed in was never truly beyond reach. It was waiting just beyond the horizon for them to keep walking. Hope is the smallest flame, yet it is the brightest light in the darkest night. It is fragile, easily shaken, easily dismissed, yet it is also indestructible, A whisper of hope has carried men through prisons, deserts, storms, and wars. A single spark of hope has fueled revolutions, rebuilt nations, healed the broken-hearted, and lifted the fallen. Hope is not naive. It does not deny pain, nor does it erase grief. Hope walks with sorrow, but refuses to let sorrow have the final word. Hope does not silence despair, but it speaks louder still, "This is not the end." Hope is endurance wrapped in vision. It looks beyond what is and dares to imagine what could be. When the body is weary, when the heart is heavy, when the path disappears into shadow, hope is the quiet promise that tomorrow still exists, that dawn will return, that loss is not the final chapter. Hope is rebellion against despair. Despair says, "Why try?" Hope answers, "Because it matters." Despair says, "It will never change." Hope replies, "Wait and see." Despair says, "It is finished." Hope says, "It has just begun." Hope is the counter voice, the defiant song, the unyielding refusal to be broken. Hope is the companion of resilience. Resilience gives strength to endure, but hope gives reason to endure. Without hope, resilience withers. Without hope, discipline becomes slavery. Patience becomes emptiness. Courage becomes exhaustion. Hope is the meaning that fuels persistence, the vision that makes the suffering bearable. Hope is not always loud. Sometimes it is a roar that shakes the heavens, a rallying cry that stirs the masses. But often it is a whisper, faint and fragile, in the hidden places of the heart. A mother rocking a child through the night, believing tomorrow will be better. A worker saving one coin at a time, believing change will come. A broken soul rising one more time, believing healing is still possible. Hope is born in suffering. It is not created in ease or comfort. In light, hope is unnoticed. In darkness, it becomes everything. The night gives birth to hope because it is only when all else is stripped away that the soul learns the value of even a single flicker of light. Hope is contagious. A single voice of hope can inspire multitudes. A single life lived in hope can alter the destiny of generations. One candle lights another and another until the night is filled with fire. To carry hope is not only to save yourself, it is to offer salvation to others. Hope is memory and promise woven together. It remembers that we have survived before, and it believes that we can survive again. It recalls past dawns that followed long nights, and it trusts that this night will end as well. Hope ties yesterday's triumphs to tomorrow's expectations. Hope is risk. To hope is to make yourself vulnerable, to open yourself to disappointment, to stand unguarded before the possibility of failure. But the greater risk is to live without hope, for the hopeless are already defeated, already lost, already buried in despair. Hope risks pain, but it also creates life. Hope is often misunderstood. It is not wishful thinking, not empty optimism, not denial of reality. Hope is rooted in reality. It sees the suffering clearly, but it refuses to surrender to it. Hope is the courage to look at the world as it is and still believe in what it can become. Hope is action. It does not merely sit and wait. It builds, it plants, it reaches. Hope is the farmer who sows seed into barren soil, trusting the rain will come. Hope is